Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
It's Valentine's Day. You all should be like, ooh, no. Okay. Contracts. This is very interesting. How many people are just so excited about these contracts? One whole person. Okay. So our book tells us that a contract is an enforceable agreement between the parties. It is a promise or a set of promises that are enforceable by law. It's in our textbook. Okay, so now our book gives us some elements of a valid contract. Your book talks about 4 elements of a valid contract. The book calls it mutual assent. You have mutual assent when you have a valid offer from the offeror, they call it the offeror, and an acceptance from the offeree. But you got to have mutual assent. You have to have consideration. We're going to talk about consideration. Capacity, and then legality. You got to have all these elements to have a valid contract. I cannot say to you, hey, I will give you $500 if you go over there and kill him for me. That's not legal. So I cannot enter into a contract with somebody to do something that's not legal. That's not going to be a valid contract. You have to have all 4 elements. You have to have mutual assent, consideration, capacity, and legality to have a valid contract.
So, Mr. Ferrucci, why don't you tell me about why you're here today?
Okay, Your Honor. It's because I'm at my wit's end trying to get my money from this guy who I did a job for, doesn't want to pay.
First of all, how do you 2 know each other?
We're both musicians. We've known each other for years. Played together on a lot of jobs.
So specifically what happened here?
Well, what happened is I own a recording studio as well, and Dominic asked me if he could record his album, ostensibly, at my studio. And I agreed to it. We made terms. It took a week of long nights. For a very discounted, friendly, favor type rate, I did the project and delivered it to him.
How much did you charge him and how much would you have charged someone else?
For the entire album, it's ludicrous, really. I charged him $700. Now, just the studio time alone, normally, the card rate for the studio would be 10 times that. Would be $7,000.
Okay.
Your Honor, he's neglecting to mention that I've done a lot of gigs for him for free.
Okay.
Your Honor, that's not
There's a
entirely
payback. There's
Mr.
compensation.
Duwala, I'll get to you in a moment. But actually what you just said interested me. Is that true, Mr. Ferrucci?
No, he didn't play for me for free. There were projects that were recorded in my studio, and some of these artists didn't have funding. I said, do you want to jump in case it goes somewhere? It's called doing stuff on spec. And then if it comes to fruition, becomes an album, he's in on the ground floor. So he could play on the project in the later stages of development. But there were also plenty of gigs at my studio that he did get paid for. And Your Honor, it was always spoken about. The terms going in, Dom always knew what it was.
Okay, Mr. Duwala, I'd like to hear what you have to say in response.
I gave Willie a call in March, and I asked him if I can record my world album. And he said yes. And that's how it went down.
Okay, what happened after that?
After that, he looked in his books, gave me some dates, and we agreed that April would suffice, and I said, good, and we went for it.
Your Honor, let's look at the small print here. Let's leave out a couple of major details, okay? When Willie called me about doing this at my studio, I said yes. Let's figure out a time that's good for both our schedules. And then I called him back, and I said, Dominic, such and such a date, such and such a time, this is good for me, we could do it every day until it's done in 1 week's time.
Yeah,
and it's $700 is the discounted rate for the job. I left him that message. He called me back, so he obviously received the message, and he said, it's a go, those dates are good for me.
Okay, Your Honor.
Okay, so in your mind at the time, he had accepted your offer
Well,
at
it's
the
more than my mind, Your Honor, because my actual body and my mind and the whole thing showed up at the studio at the appointed time and did the world album.
Mr. Duala, how is it that you knew when to show up, but you did not know about the fact that you had to pay?
We had the conversation regarding
But
the
wasn't
time
it-
frame, which was in April, that I was going to come to the studio.
Yes,
and
but it
do
wasn't
the
until Mr. Ferrucci had left the message on your machine telling you which dates it was. Is that correct? He confirmed the dates with you on that message.
That is correct.
Okay, that's the very same message where he confirmed the payment arrangements.
Your Honor, Willie knows I delete messages. I didn't listen to it in its entirety. All I heard was the space, the time was available, and that's what I went on. I deleted the message. So maybe he did tag that on at the end, and maybe I didn't catch that.
At the time that you arrived at the studio,
Yes.
what was your intention? Are you saying that you didn't know that Mr. Ferrucci was going to be charging you any money at that time?
Your Honor, I swear to you, I had no idea.
You just didn't know he was going to be charging money.
No.
You just didn't hear. You never. In fact, neither of you ever confirmed with the other the arrangements, the terms.
Exactly.
Your Honor.
And Your Honor, I honestly feel insulted and appalled that he would even try to charge me for $700.
Maybe all I've done item is insulted, but the rate that I charged him is happy birthday and Merry Christmas rolled into one. $700 for a week's work for an entire album. I know you're not in the music business, Your Honor, but try to get a sense that this is about 1/10 of what the card rate should be. So I mean, it's still got
gigs I've done for free.
Mr. Duala, when Mr. Ferrucci first asked you for payment, what did you say to him? Did you say anything to him?
I said that it's like a payback. I don't owe him anything.
You said you don't owe him anything. Okay.
Exactly.
Mr. Ferrucci, did Mr. Duala ever say to you, yes, I will pay $700? I mean, I understand that you're saying that it's kind of sort of implied between the two of you based on your experiences in the past. But did you ever say that to him?
Well, in the past, he said that
Your Honor, he's jogging
One
around
moment,
the
Mr.
question.
Duala.
when he accepted the dates, called me back. Sure, they phone tag all the time, we're both busy. When he came to the studio, the last thing on my mind, because he knew when to come, and he knew what we were there for, and he knew how long and how hard we had to work to get it done, I didn't know he left out that last little detail. He deleted the last little detail.
So you
Which is the money.
made what you believe is a reasonable assumption that he knew about the money, considering he knew about the other information on the email. Let me ask you this. What is the standard procedure with regard to payment when an artist books time with your studio?
Well, that's simple, Your Honor. If the project is just a day project or something that happens, in one chunk of time, then payment is received at the end of the session. If it's a project that's going to last over time, since I have the material, the recorded material, and they're not allowed to take that until payment is received in full.
In this case, Mr. Duala has the finished project. Am I incorrect?
You're very much correct, Your Honor.
Okay,
Yes.
so what was your thinking with
Hey, my buddy, we're old friends, so I wasn't, he was getting the friendly price and the friendly treatment.
So if we're buddies and friends, Your Honor, shouldn't a buddy and a friend be compensated?
I believe that it was Mr. Ferrucci's intention to give you a break on the price, a substantial break. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll return with my verdict shortly.
Who do you think will win? Plaintiff, Mr. Ferrucci, or the defendant, Mr. Duala? Okay. Wait a minute. Oh, God. Really? Half of you think that the plaintiff will win, and half of you think that the defendant will win. Okay? Somebody tell me why they think the plaintiff will win. Okay?
Kind of feel his thing because I own my own shop and I do help friends out, but I have to tell him like, hey, at the end of the day, I still have to pay rent at the beginning of the month, so I'm gonna do the work for you, but not for free. And they should already assume that it's not gonna be free; it'll be discounted just like that,
Okay?
because obviously it's my time and my space and all that.
Okay. it have the feel of like American High Mass? Who didn't want to pay that $100,000? It does it have that feeling? Does it feel like it just feels like, okay. Who wants to tell me why they think they finish it? Yes, sir.
There's no mutual assent.
Lawyers in this class. There's no mutual assent. Why do you say that?
He didn't know there was a contract and he had worked in the other guy's studio prior. So even if, and him being a reasonable person can expect this to continue that way.
Okay, yes, sir.
One thought it was a contract, the other one thought it was illusory. It's like there just wasn't, again, that meeting of minds. So,
There was no meeting of the minds. Wow. What did you say? You said there was no mutual assent. You said there was no meeting of the minds. Oh, that's kind of fancy. Okay. Yeah. But we still have this split. Okay.
In the case of Willie Ferrucci versus Dominique Duala, I must say that I have great sympathy for the plaintiff in this case. I find that the plaintiff here gave a substantial discount to Mr. Duala. I also find that Mr. Duala's work that he's done in the past with Mr. Ferrucci was not done as consideration for this particular job that Mr. Ferrucci did. I find that the consideration for that was Mr. Duala would potentially gain considerable exposure. Having said that, I have to say that there was no contract here. There was no meeting of the minds here. There was never a point in time where they both understood what the terms of the contract were and moved forward from there. So there was never a contract formed. And there's no detrimental reliance, although I'm sure the plaintiff relied on payment for his services. He never extracted promise from Mr. Duala to actually pay him. Mr. Duala never said that he would pay $700 for the rental and for the time and the work that Mr. Ferrucci put into this project, and therefore Willie Ferrucci is not entitled to any damages from Mr. Duala. That's my ruling.
What's different about this and Trans-American Power Funds?
actually had an agreement.
Huh?
The Trans-American actually had an agreement.
They actually had offer and acceptance. American High Man said, hey, I need a pole this high, this big, with 3 screws in it. Can you make it? If so, how much will it cost? Trans-American Power Farm said, hey, yes, I can make that for you. It's going to cost this amount of money, blah, blah, I'll deliver it, blah, blah. You have offer and acceptance. What happened here? The guy says, can I come by your place and do a demo or whatever it is he wants to do? And then the other guy says, yeah, let me look at some dates. And oh, by the way, it'll be $700. The guy calls back, he says, oh, yeah, I can come on that day. Does he ever say, and I'll pay $700? No. The judge could see that there is no meeting of the minds. There was no real mutual assent. You had somebody saying, yeah, all they had agreement to do was to come by and do the tape. There was no agreement on the consideration, which you must have. So then you don't have, in this case, mutual assent. And therefore there's no agreement. So all contracts must meet the 4 elements, whether it's in writing or it's oral, for it to be a valid, for when you get to court and the court starts looking at it going down, they're going to look at all the elements to see. Most of these are situations where don't put things in writing. And this is the reason why we have these elements. So that when you get to court, the judge can start asking questions. And then lo and behold, come to find out, I left this message. I called back and I said, yeah to what? We don't know what. There was no meeting of the mind.